can join NATO while a war is going on, where a NATO nation is being attacked, because that guarantees that we're in a war, and we're in a third world war. So that it's not about whether or not they should or shouldn't join. It's about when they can join, and they will join NATO.
That was just moments ago, President Biden addressing when Ukraine could eventually join NATO and the reasons why now, he says, is not the time. The members of the G7 are pledging their joint support for Ukraine. The NATO alliance has launched a new forum for deepening ties with Ukraine. It's called the NATO-Ukraine Council. President Biden also vowing to provide security for Ukraine during this visit to fight Russia's ongoing invasion. He says the G7 leaders will help Ukraine build a strong, capable defense across land, air, and sea to deter against any and all threats. Joining me now, national security and political analyst Paul Rieckhoff. You can also check out his podcast, Independent Americans, where you get your podcast. Paul, thank you. I want to get your response to some of the president's remarks, first being that now is not the prudent time for Ukraine to join NATO.
I think that's tough news for the Ukrainians right now. I mean, they want every kind of weapon and asset level of support that they can possibly get. I understand it. I think a lot of us understand it, that there's an idea that once they join NATO, then NATO is immediately pulled into the war. But I think that Biden and many in NATO are trying to have it both ways here. We're already basically fighting a proxy war against the Russians in Ukraine. We're giving them weapons. We're giving them support. I think we're going to continue to ratchet that up for what could be years. So, you're kind of putting Ukraine in a holding pattern, which is difficult. They're going to continue to be grateful, but I think we've got to underscore the stakes here. I mean, Ukrainians are having civilians killed every single day. Their cities are being missile attacked and bombed. And you got to understand Zelensky's perspective. He wants every single resource he can to stop the killing of his people. And I would expect him to continue to push for that NATO acceptance in the coming years.
Right. And no one knows when this will stop, right? Many have deemed this a war of attrition. This is what President Biden said about Putin and his hold on the war currently.
Putin's already lost the war. Putin has a real problem. How does he move from here? What does he do? And so the idea that there's going to be what vehicle is used, he could end the war tomorrow. He could just say, I'm out. But what agreement is ultimately reached depends upon Putin.
Paul, there was a really interesting follow-up question to that remark, and it was what more needs to be done by the U.S. and NATO partners to deter Putin, right? Because if it's not going to end on his terms, what else can other nations do at this point? How would you militarily answer that question?
I think Biden could be a lot clearer. I think he often sounds like he's trying to have it both ways. He often sounds a little weak to the Ukrainians who want to hear more support. I say it over and over again. Their kids are dying. Their civilians are being killed. And they don't want to hear, hey, we're going to get to it later, or we hope that Putin will sign a peace treaty. Putin's not going to sign a peace treaty. He's not going to pull out. He's made it clear he's going to fight long and hard. And we've got to really brace ourselves for what is a very, very long fight. I think that Biden's put Zelensky in this place where he's playing a game of Mother May I. Every week he's got to ask for another kind of weapon system. He's got to ask for more money. There's a new tranche of $800 million worth of American military equipment and supplies that are headed in. They're Strikers, they're Bradley armored vehicles, they're anti-aircraft weapons, they're cluster munitions. But every week it's like a new thing on a wish list that he's got to keep asking Biden for. And I think that frustrates the Ukrainian people. It frustrates the Ukrainian soldiers who want to win this war, and that's how they will end it. The end to this war comes when Russia either pulls out or if potentially Putin goes down internally or leaves Russia. But the road to the end of this war goes through either Russia leaving or Putin dying. There's not going to be a peace treaty where Putin all of a sudden comes to his senses and signs something with Biden. I think it's a little bit of hopeful thinking that's out of touch with the brutal, violent, bloody reality on the ground.
Right. And what do you make of the component of Prigozhin and how that plays into all of this and his unknown whereabouts at this point?
I mean, it's all, right out of Putin's playbook here. I mean, Putin's going to repress any opposition. He's going to try to keep folks in lockstep. He had this near mutiny with the Wagner group that was a real threat to him. So I think Putin's going to be taking it from all sides. I think one thing that Biden got wrong is Putin hasn't lost this war yet. I mean, this is still ongoing, and the Ukrainians could lose ground. They can continue to lose people. And I don't think we should give the American people the idea that this is already over. It's not over.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.